Good evening. My name's James Carlon. I'm a senior property consultant at Nock, Deighton, where I've been for 25 years, covering currently Telford and Newport patches. During those 25 years, we've seen great changes in the sales market. It's been up, it's been down, it's been up again and up again. The private rental sector is something that hasn't really changed anywhere near as much as that. It's just gone up and up and up. And it's just continuing to do so right now. So over the last 20 years, it's been a real sort of steady increase, slight dip, which I'll come on to in a second. Okay, so going back to the year 2000, we had just around 2 million rental properties in the private sector. And then by 2011, we had 3.6 million, and 2017, 4.7 million, and in 2022 it dropped a little bit. The market had risen, landlords were cashing in, making the most of the real top dollar prices really. Currently, conservatively, we're short of about 220,000. Listening to Chris Watkin, he thinks it's more like 260,000 properties. So during the last 20 plus years, the UK population has grown by 10 million and the rental demand has continued to grow along with that. So we're still short of stock, basically. So, a slightly different tangent. Wind the clock back to the first quarter of 2020. A pretty much unheard of disease was about to hit our shores. We were all told to go home, lock your doors, bake banana bread, and watch Joe Wicks, basically. Would this kill off the market, we all thought? Well, no, it didn't, basically. It did all sorts of weird things. It did have strange effects, but they've been largely positive. So, having been locked up for some time, more people decided they needed to move. Now, these reasons always occur no matter what's happening in the market, but if you've been locked up for 2 years with somebody you didn't like before lockdown, you're not going to like them an awful lot after lockdown. So, more people move into 2 homes instead of 1. There's also been a little baby boom. The birth rate is up. Daytime TV isn't any good. So, we've got more needs for bigger houses. So just in case the confidence was wavering in the market, whether you should go out and buy a property or not, that nice Mr. Sunak threw in a little stamp duty holiday. And then loads of people that perhaps would have done it at some point decided to do it now, and they all rushed to buy. And that was great. We didn't think we needed it, but we'll take it anyway. So wonderful. So that had a really sort of awkward effect of everybody chasing the same completion dates and solicitors basically putting everything on the back burner and only looking after the properties that needed to, likely to hit this date. So during the first, during 2021 in total actually, instead of it taking about 8 to 12 weeks to sale and complete on a property, the system slowed to about 26 weeks. So instead of it being, 2 to 3 months, it was 6 months, which is a long time. It is improving, slowly, but it is still taking anything on average from 16 to 20 weeks to complete on a sale. So 6 months is a long time in anyone's books, and it is getting better, as I say, but not quickly enough. We've had cases where a investor client or any other client really might be selling a property to another investor client, purchaser, and come months 4, 5 and 6, they're starting to question whether the price they'd agreed was right, and actually in most cases it wasn't, it had gone up by then. So they'd turn around to us or to any other agent they were dealing with and say, do you think you could go and ask my buyer for another 20 or 30 grand? And we did, and guess what they said? No, they weren't too keen on that. So back to the market we go, and we'd start the process off all over again, reset the clock to anything up to 6 months again. It is worth bearing in mind that your searches are only valid for 3 months and your mortgages are only valid for 6 months. So you come to the end of that, and then what do? We don't claim to have reinvented the wheel, but we have sort of a solution that can make the process a whole lot quicker, and you can get a property through in anything between 14 and 56 days.
15 and 40, yeah.
15 and 40. So you could be bidding, buying, and earning income off the property within weeks, days and weeks rather than months, and within the same year. So we offer a solution to that headache, and it's basically just a short circuit to what is seen as a bit of an antiquated private treaty method, which, although we've got things like email and all sorts of gadgets and gizmos, solicitors don't really use that to speed it up. It's still the same speed it was when I started in '97, and I don't see it changing. So if you're looking to bid on an existing rental property where there's a tenant in situ, if we've got that for sale via auction, you can have a look at the full legal pack, and in that, or in addition to that, you can see a copy of the assured short hold tenancy, a copy of the EICR, EPC, gas safety certificate, anything else like that before you actually make your bid. And we do national auctions, and we also do eBay style auctions, which Jim will come on to in a second. The fall through rate in the UK is and always has been 33%, so 1 in 3 sales will never complete. That figure's higher at the minute, it's about 40% I would say. Largely down to delays, either buyer getting bored or mortgage offer running out, whatever it might be. Not all sales fall through because the buyer's chosen to pull out. It can be because the sellers decided to pull out because they've just had enough basically, and they think that it's the buyer's fault. It may not be, it could just be the whole legal system sort of grinding to a halt. So if the seller pulls out, the buyer's got legal fees and no property at the end of it. Auction sales very, very rarely fall through. The basic mechanics of it are a fair price is agreed, a fair time frame that all parties can commit to is agreed, and there are no nasty surprises because you've seen all the legal pack, you've seen everything before you even made your bid, basically. Jim will tell us more. That's it.
Yep. I've got no fancy presentations or anything to click or anything like that, so I'm just here really to talk to you. So my name's Demitriou, I'm from SDL Auctions, I'm the National Valuer, and I also do lots of other things for the business as well. So just as a quick overview of who we are and what we do, pre-COVID, we had 5 regional auction houses, Manchester, Birmingham, Leicester, Derby, Nottingham. COVID happened, and our MD sat there with all these properties that we've got instructed to put into auction, and every other auction house has shut the doors and put their gavels down. So we kind of said, well, look, we already live stream all of our auctions anyway, so we'll just put them all into one national auction, and we'll just carry on and see what happens. Let's not be sending people home and furloughing them, let's keep people working. And it just went from there to there to there to there, and it just kind of exponentially grew. So we still now run national auctions. We've got one tomorrow. So we've got anything from 150 to 250 properties every single month. But the reason I'm kind of here, I've got a little bit of an affinity for rental properties, because where do you sell or where do you buy a rental property? You need to put it in front of the right audience. So I think for me, 9/10 of what I do is all about audience. So there's no point in me standing here talking about farming, because that isn't what you guys are here for. So it's the wrong audience for that. But you are here to talk about properties. So just to keep it kind of a bit lively and engaged, has anybody bought a rental property from auction? We've got 3 or 4. And did you buy that in a state that it was already rented, or did you buy it to do it up and then rent it?
Do I?
Yeah.
Do I?
Yeah. So is that kind of what a lot of people sort of are looking for? So did you do that because there was more value in it, because you thought you got it at a better price, or?
I sent my wife along with you.
Oh, she was bidding extortionately and got carried away then.
I got carried away.
Yeah. And you still got that rental property.
Still got it.
Yeah. So does that give you a better yield because you bought it from an auction, or how did you perceive the value of it before you went?
Very good buy.
And yourselves?
Yeah, goodbye, yeah.
Yeah. So anybody bought a house that's already a rental at auction? No? Okay. Would anybody not buy from auction? Oh, come on, we're all a bit bashful here today, aren't we? So generally when I do these talks, auction is a very, very hard thing to sort of present to somebody, because everybody's got this preconceived notion that you're selling something really, really bad, really terrible, nobody wants it, it's going to fall down, it's got big cracks down it, and it's generally not the case. We do sell lots of those properties, but we'd always say to people, read the legal pack, go and view it, take a builder if you need to, do all your due diligence, because generally we've got a whole month before the next auction, so you've got plenty of time to have a look at it. So for me, I like auction properties that are tenanted, because when I'm talking about audience, you as landlords, so I'm assuming most of you would be quite happy to buy a rented property that's already tenanted. Yeah. So where do you go shopping for what you want? Yeah. So who's bought a rental? Where did you get it from? From an estate agent? From somebody that you knew? Who do I pick on? Who's going to smile?
We bought a tenanted in situ property from a local agent recently.
Okay.
And it was a good deal.
Yeah.
You know, I must admit, what's the difference between auction property and a property sold at the modern method of auction?
Okay.
I've been a little bit put off by that and have read the small print and thought, do I, don't I? Not sure yet.
Okay. So with auctions, we're one of the only companies in the UK that do all types of auctions. So we've still got live streamed auctions. So instead of everybody sitting in a room to auction to bid on a property, it's online. Yeah, it's live streamed on our website. If any of you want to have a look, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, go to SDL Auctions, click live view, and you can watch it. So we still run those auctions that have got an auctioneer and there's properties in lot order. Yeah, we're probably not going to go back to a room because since COVID, people have changed their habits. They don't want to come and sit in a room from 10 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. Yeah, so people kind of dip in and out when they want. But the interesting thing is there are still auction fees to pay, which maybe a lot of people that haven't bought from auction aren't aware. So the modern method of auction is the eBay style type of auction. So with that, you know, instead of there being an auctioneer to do the bidding, it's a bidding platform. Yeah, so anybody can see it. You click there and you bid. You can see what other people are bidding. But the reason that a lot of people and a lot of estate agents have jumped onto that is because it's transparent. Yeah. So if there's a property with a local agent and you go and make an offer for it, and somebody wants to make another offer, they can't disclose what other offers have been made because they're not allowed to. Whereas at least in auction, it's very transparent because you can see what people are offering. So where a lot of people come to me and say, Jim, they won't pay the auction fees because the modern method of auction, minimum £5,000 plus VAT, or 4% or 3%. Yeah, and you kind of think, well, hang on a minute, that sounds a bit expensive. That's putting you off. You kind of.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy anything that I probably couldn't see first.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I
get that. You'd be surprised how many people do.
I know, but I wouldn't.
I'm with you. If you're going to buy something, go and have a look.
I want to feel it, I want to see it.
Yeah, and sometimes we can't do viewings on certain properties for certain reasons, but we let you know. And it's up to you whether you bid on it or you register for it or whatever it might be. So when we kind of go back to the fees, in the regular auctions that used to happen, we charge the buyer a fee, an entry fee, a commission. The seller a fee and a commission. The buyer would pay a fee and an admin fee and possibly a buyer's fee. So all that modern method of auction has done is taken the seller's fees, grouped it with the buyer's fees, and the buyer pays the fees. Because what used to happen was the sellers used to put those fees in the legal pack to claw them back from the buyer anyway. So for me, it's only about that fee is part of your acquisition cost. So you've got to factor it in. And if that fee and what you're paying for the property isn't what you want to pay for it, you don't buy it. So I've sold properties, in excess of £1.5 million that have got 3% buyer's fees on them. And they pay it because it's part of the acquisition of that property. If it's not what they want to pay, they don't pay. But I think people, yes, sometimes do get a little carried away because they keep clicking or they keep bidding, but they want the property.
And I'll say that what's put me off as well with this last year is that agents have told me, yeah, okay, it's the new modern method of auction, but basically you see the price on the internet and it is a very much lower, it looks a very cost-effective price, but actually realistically you're likely to pay at least £20,000 to £30,000 more than the guide.
It just depends. So does anybody actually know what the difference is between the guide and the reserve price?
So reserve is when they won't actually sell it anything below that.
Yeah. But who shot at 10%? Yeah. So the bit that even seasoned buyers and sellers at auction sometimes don't realise, whatever your guide price is, your reserve cannot be more than 10%. But we're salespeople. Yeah. I've often put properties into our auction at £20,000 that are worth 100. Yeah. Because it generates a lot of interest and people bid for it. But at the end of the day, you're going to bid what it's worth to you. My job is to get as much interest as possible for our clients that are selling, so we can get them the best price. That's what we do. But
who are your clients? Are they repossession? Banks?
We've got a wide variety. So like Nock, Deighton are one of our partner agents. We've got about 1,500 Nock, Deightons throughout the UK that obviously come to us when they've got properties that their clients want to auction. Yeah, we do deal with liquidators, banks. We deal with lots of individuals, solicitors that have got probates, investors. So we've got lots of investors and traders that have used us for years because the advantage of selling at auction is when it's sold, it stays sold. So the figure that sort of James alluded to earlier, we did a sort of recce last year, and of all the sales that we agreed, 99.2% of them went through. Yeah, so less than 1% fall through rate, which you don't get that anywhere else. But the key thing for me, and the reason that I like to be standing here in front of you, if you're looking to buy something at auction, like James said, you can look at the legal pack, you can do your due diligence, you can get your solicitor to look at it. And if it is maybe an unscrupulous auction house that you kind of think, well, hang on a minute, they're putting everything in at 10 grand, that seems a bit bizarre. If there's the odd one of those in, that's fine. But if all of them are like that, it doesn't seem quite right. So you do your own due diligence, get a relationship with an auctioneer. If the guys want to give you my number, if there's a property that you're looking at in our auction or somebody else's, I'm quite happy to help you. But I think it's a nice way to buy a tenant that's already in situ, that doesn't want to go, and you're buying almost like a ready-made product. But the interesting thing when I sell properties at auction, a lot of tenants and a lot of landlords. So who's got tenants that they've had for more than 5 years in a property? Yeah. Do you want to upset those tenants? Yeah. So if you go and stick a big for sale board outside and you've got droves of people coming in and out to view it, how's your tenant going to feel? Yeah. So when you're selling that property, what are you actually selling? The investment. Yeah. So you're selling income. It's facts and figures. It's not emotional. So a lot of the rental properties that I sell, unfortunately, I don't do viewings. I don't have a for sale board. I don't have internal pictures. I've got a picture from the outside, but they're buying the income. And that isn't for everybody. I appreciate that. But sometimes it's difficult to be able to get that access if it's a rental property. Yeah. But again, if you don't ask, you don't know. But build a relationship with the auctioneers. Because there's always properties that you can have a look at. There's always properties and opportunities. I mean, we probably sell more HMOs than any other auction house in the UK. We sell dozens of them every single month. Some of them fly out the door, some of them don't. The really popular ones are the ones that are tenanted with students. And there's lots of funds that buy them because the money is almost guaranteed. I've got one at the minute, a friend of mine, he's already got it let for the next academic year at £35,000. Yeah, on one AST for all 6 of the students. He's happy. Yeah, whoever buys that has already got that in place. So I'm not saying HMOs are for everybody. Some people like them, some people don't. Some people think they're a lot of hassle, but it depends what sort you've got. But the fashion for them at the minute is all ensuited, nice, done up, proper business broadband, etc. Because a lot of people do choose to live in them, and students obviously want to be with their class. So sorry, I think you were trying to say something.
Yes, you were talking about building relationships. I mean, is that how some good properties are sold before the auction date? How does that work?
Yeah, so we get lots of people that want to buy before auction. So the key things are there are certain properties that you can't buy before auction. So when you look at the councils, at charities, they have to be able to market their properties to everybody and have the ability to sort of disclose that they have made it available to everybody. So those sorts of organisations wouldn't take the property out of auction first. Yeah. Yes, we've got lots of regular buyers that consistently want to buy properties from us. Some of them will buy them off out of our auction and put them in somebody else's auction and try and make more money. But ultimately, it's down to the vendor whether they accept an offer or not. So I've got lots of investment groups that deal with me, and I kind of say to them, well, don't ring me and say, will they take an offer before an auction? Come to me with an offer. There's no point in, if it's guided at 100 and reserved at 110, don't come to me and offer me £90,000 2 weeks before the auction or 2 days before, because that client's going to say, well, do you know what, I might as well wait. Now, back pre-COVID, when we had auctions every 2 months, there was a long gap, so more people might be inclined to sell before an auction. But because they run every single month now, people haven't got to wait very long to sell the next property. Yeah. So yes, if you build relationships and you're making reasonable offers, but for me, I'm the national valuer. It sounds really fancy, but I actually don't value anything. Yeah, because for me, it's worth what somebody will pay for it. So if we've got a 4-bedroom detached house that you're going to rent out, you might say to you it's worth 200. Somebody else says it's worth 250 to them. Somebody else might say I won't pay more than 150. So what is its value? Yeah, and I don't mean to. Yeah, I know you're very good at what you do. But for me, when we put something in an auction, somebody will say, Jim, what will it fetch? And I never have those conversations with my clients. Because we can put it in and we might not get any registered bidders. We could put it in, we might get 20. We might sell it at reserve. We might not sell it. We might sell it for 50 grand more. And that's the bit that I like about auction, because it is a little bit unpredictable. But if you're going to buy from auction, do your due diligence, see what it's worth to you. And I always say to my friends, scribble it on your hand and don't go above it. Yeah, but most people always do. Because it gets emotional. But I think the interesting thing with buying rental properties at auction, it's facts and figures driven. Yeah. So I mean, I had a lovely lady today. I've got my HMO one for £380,000, Jim, and I said to her, with the greatest respect, would you buy a property that's a HMO with all the gas and electric bills that you're going to be having now, at 7% return, gross? I wouldn't. I says, would you buy it? She goes, I wouldn't. Well, why are you expecting somebody to buy it off you at that? He says, what does it need to be? And generally, for those sorts of properties, 12 to 15% is the guide price. Yeah, 10% reserve, and you just kind of see where it goes. Yeah. But I think it is a good avenue to have a look at, if you are looking, because if you're a seller of an investment property, where do you sell it? Has anybody got investment properties that are out of the area that they live in? Yeah. So where would you go shopping for? Do you sit on Rightmove and try and find investment properties? What city do you look at? What area do you look at? So where would you source a property? So the good thing with auction houses, not just ours, but any auction house, we have a catalogue 2 weeks before the auction. We get absolutely thousands of people download it and look at it. But there's your shopping list. Because if you're an investor, where do you put it? We've got investors that are buying internationally from London. A lot more people from London are looking to buy up here because people aren't buying flats in London anymore. Because people aren't working in London like they used to. So they're moving a little bit further up. So investors aren't buying those properties. Lots of flats have got cladding issues, all sorts of things now. So the appetite's changed. But if you're looking at an auction catalogue, there's properties all over the UK, especially ours. So, you can have a look at that and say, well, I fancy that one, So you register for what you want, do your due diligence, register to bid, you might win it, you might do well, you might not win it. But I think it's an easier way to shop at an auction because you can see what you're looking for.
Jim, I think the gentleman at the back said, who are our customers? And you asked if it was repossessions and things like that. It doesn't have to be. It's not at the minute anyway, is it? It can be anybody that would want to sell a property with minimal hassle. So we've had a really big one in Kiddie where I think the landlord the vendor live abroad. Yeah. So sometimes somebody had inherited a property, just didn't want the hassle of coming over to look after the sale of it. Basically, they were not in great health. They wanted the quickest method of sale with the least hassle. So it can be anybody any private individual that would sell any property really, that just doesn't want to have it drawn out potentially for up to 6 months. So people always expect it to be some really rough and ready, run-down place. It doesn't have to be that. Sometimes it will be that, but it doesn't exclusively have to be. It could be anything that's as good as any other property on the agent's window, really.
So I wasn't going to harp on too much about selling, because I thought it was more about buying at auction. But if we're looking at selling at auction, and that nice lady there, I don't know your name, nice lady. She's not looking at me now. But you kind of said about the modern method of auction. And again, when we look at audiences, the live event auctions are the wholesale auctions, the online auctions are for what I call retail auctions. So the nicer properties sit there because they're trying to sell them to owner-occupiers. The live event auctions are for you guys. Yeah. But the key thing is, and the reason that a lot of people gravitate to us, at the moment we're getting a lot of people come to us because they say, look, Jim, I've sold my house 3 times and I'm a bit fed up now. I need to sell it because I need to move. So people come to us because when you have an unconditional auction contract, Hammerfalls, that because they've accepted our buying terms, they're allowing us and they're giving us the authority to exchange on their behalf immediately. So basically what can take 17, 20, 26 weeks, whatever it might be, you've got 15, it's exchanged immediately and there's either 15 or 40 business days to complete. So a lot of people come to us because of that, because they like the sort of definiteness of it, if that's just a word. But it's done, so there's no messing about. And like I said, very rarely do people sort of pull out of an auction contract once they've agreed it. So it's just that finality that people like, and they know that it's going to happen.